From our living room we overlook the pond. The pond is the home of Pitt. Pitt's last name is Red Winged Blackbird. Pitt has chosen the pond as home for himself and his wife, Mrs. Blackbird. Mrs. Blackbird has artfully built a nest. All day long, Pitt is eager to tell everybody that trespassing is not allowed. This pond is his and his wife's. But then along comes Salvador, the Great Blue Heron. Salvador is here for dinner. He's looking for fish, perhaps crayfish and frogs, or the occasional mouse. Salvador is very poor at understanding blackbird language, so he does not heed Pitt's message. So this is a story of Pitt taking on Salvador. It is kind of a David and Goliath story. It is also an example of action in nature, or nature in action, an example of what we are privileged to enjoy sometimes from our living room. As Salvador does not understand Pitt's language, Pitt has to invest a lot of energy and effort to make it clear to the heron that he is not welcome here and that he better get lost. A blackbird weighs about 65 grams, a heron more than 3,000, so Salvador has about 50 times the weight of Pitt. Salvador also has a great sharp beak, which he uses usually to great effect when catching fish, or frogs, or crayfish, or mice. Pitt has only a bill suitable for eating insects and seeds. As a matter of fact, right here, right now, he seems to mostly eat apple blossoms. Or he eats the seeds of cattails. Just as his wife. But what Pitt lacks in arms, he makes up for with spunk, tenacity, and determination. Who will win, the plucky blackbird or the well-armed heron? The fight goes on for the better of 10 minutes. Salvador does not seem to get it. Even worse, he doesn't even think of ever using his beak in defense. I wonder whether the stories about spectacular fights between herons and peregrine falcons are true. Stories which medieval falconers told, who used to hunt herons with peregrines. Well, by and by, Salvador starts to get what Pitt is driving at. Okay, I'll saunter off the dock. But all that the retreat does is bringing about renewed and even more ferocious attacks from Pitt. And then, finally, the heron takes flight. But within a fraction of a second, we realized that it was Flap, the neighbor's dog, who tipped the balance in the context in favor of Pitt. It was Flap who drove off the heron. How gallant of Flap. Is Flap perhaps the one who understands blackbird language? I wonder. All videos were recorded using a Panasonic FZ35 camera. The fight was recorded on May 3, 2012 at Sonnleiten in Metchosin on southern Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, through a double-paned window over a distance of 50 meters.